right? They are trying to stop the deplorables from coming into Washington and making your voice heard. Remember, how did this regime a year ago nation of Washington, D.C., the fences, the razor wire, I was there having to stomp around, ID checks. Do you have your papers? Right? I saw that. Now
hold on. Hang on. Jack Posobiec, as a correspondent then from One American News. One American News can't be 3 minutes walk, Jack, a fast minutes max from the war room. It would take you, what, 30 minutes? You have to walk around.
It would take me 30 minutes.
The train station. Couldn't even get here.
Yeah, you have to walk all the way up around the Oval. But so, and I would say, yes, absolutely. This is the exact same thing that happens when the Lao Baijing go to Beijing for a petition. Now, petitioning the emperor and petitioning the Forbidden City and Zhongnanhai, as it's called now. That's the main. It's sort of the Kremlin of Beijing. When they go up there for petitions. They find you. They will target you if they know you're coming. The secret police of the CCP will capture these petitioners, farmers, and small landowners and business owners and different things when they're coming up. And they will nab you right from the train station, and they take you. Now, there's no record of this. There's never any paperwork of this, but you will be thrown into what's essentially a secret prison. And they are these apartment buildings. They're also known as laogai. And you will be thrown in there, and then you essentially are kept in the secret prison until such time as they deem that you should be released, or they send you off to a real prison. So they call them the petitioners' prisons. All right. This is the exact thing that happens in Beijing if you go up there and if you're going to petition the government when it has to do with something that is unapproved. This is the exact same system. And that, ladies and gentlemen, guess what? You've already got the Jan 6 gulag. Now you've got, you're unvaccinated, can't come to Washington, D.C. You're not allowed to come here. You're not going to get, you want a permit to to protest for something. All right, let's see your vaccination status. No permit to protest. Sorry, not allowed to have your.
Hang on, we're going to take a short break, but I want to tee this up. You nailed it, dude. That was during the Depression with the guys coming and asking for their money, and they all put in one location, and then they were all rounded up. I want to make sure people understand this. Today in New York City, the regulations, capital, Washington, D.C., the mayor here has dropped the hammer, and starting in early January, I think by January 15th, not going to be able to exist in Washington, D.C. if you're unvaccinated. Okay, they're going to the airlines, all that. And this is the exact time that they are causing nothing but chaos through the United States. Never should have happened. All next in the War Room.
Lord, we pray this next year coming in is going to be a great year. For all of our friends here in Real America's Voice, for all that are watching, Mercedes and I give to you a greeting, a blessing, and we believe this will be the very best year of your life. God bless you.
Is if this continues to deteriorate, accountability is not going to be important because they're going to get wiped out. Because the nation controls the administrative state. Raheem can sit there and whine all he wants about these things like redress of grievances and all this stuff in the Constitution, but that's not important because we have a killer thing. So are they? How do they get their hands with Pete Buttigieg and like the Addams Family cabinet they have? How do they get their hands around the reality on the ground?
Look, I talked to the rest because people can see what's going on, particularly number one with the airlines, but then also look, and I didn't want to tell the story publicly, but we have some friends of ours and they had a kid who came down. They thought he had all the symptoms. It was over the Christmas break. They said, all right, let's get him tested just to be sure. Steve, there are no tests to be found anywhere in the Washington, D.C. area. You can't buy them. You can't get them. If you can get a case, of these things, hop out on the street. You will be making bank. You're making way more money than my pillows right now.
It's like cigarettes in Berlin in 1945. It's like cigarettes in prison,
right? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So they finally got a clinic Guess how much they had to pay for one rapid test, little nasal swab? $100 out of pocket.
Wow.
One test,
Cash
the
money.
little Q-tip up the nose, right? And so this situation that Biden told us early on, plus you got the Vanity Fair report that says back in October, they ordered Abbott Labs to go and start destroying their rapid tests because they weren't going to be going with them, because these tests have an expiration date and because they weren't approved and the FDA wasn't approved and Biden wasn't approved it and he didn't want to give them the contract. What is going on there? Number two, I'm tracking that up in Vermont, there was a local story that a lot of people have been paying attention to, and this is the greatest headline I've seen. ERs clogged with asymptomatic patients. The ERs in Vermont are clogged with asymptomatic patients. Now, if you go look in Vermont, and I went and just did the crosstabs on this, Vermont, by percentage, is the most vaccinated state in the entire union, right? Vermont is number one. So you understand what's going on now. People are freaking out because they were told, right? They were told up in Granola Eaton, Vermont, you get the vax, they're not going to get this thing. People, now they're all freaking out because they're broken.
To your point, Raheem, let's play some clips. We'll come back and we'll jump in with Raheem. Let's play some clips, Denver.
Repeatedly throughout this interview with David Muir, which was recorded this afternoon, President Biden seems confused and, was confusing the 500 million tests that they've ordered with the 500 million pills. Of course, pills were in the news today with the Pfizer approval of the antiviral. So he corrected himself, but that was one thing that struck out to me. But then simply this administration and the president leading the charge here, really not accepting any responsibility at all for this lack of testing. We've seen these images across the country, long lines, just the inability to get tests. And yes, Omicron came on very quickly here, but it has been almost a month since Thanksgiving where they knew this was coming. So he said he wishes he could have acted faster, but then, explains why he didn't. But the question also is, the at-home tests for January, there is no sense from this administration those will be sent out early in January, as the president suggested in this interview.
First off, it's a bald-faced lie. Raheem, it's a bald-faced lie. They caught him in it. They could have gotten on this on top of it in September of October, and they actually went the other way because, wait for it, vaccines were going to take care of everything. Vaccines were going to take care of everything. Raheem Kassam.
Well, look, this is what the lobbyists who have been extremely well remunerated, and the teams of lobbyists been widely expanded and expanded from congressional offices, by the way. Pfizer, Moderna, the others are literally recruiting people who worked for members of Congress to go and lobby those same members of Congress and to lobby the White House and so on and so forth. This is what they promised. This is what they pledged, and they don't have and they are working without any accountability. There's no impunity for the pharmaceutical companies out of any of this right now. That's what we know. But here's the other step that a lot of people are missing right now. I like to look down the field as well. There's a company called MITRE Corporation. Some people will be familiar with it. It works very closely with the national security apparatus in this country.
Stop. This is like one of the...
I've actually worked with MITRE in the past.
MITRE is, if you think deep state, this is part of the brain of this is one of the chips in the brain of the deep
it's
state.
CIA. It's all
right?
CIA.
CIA.
Put it
this
this way.
CIA
Just for saying MITRE on air, I'm going to end up getting, I won't be around tomorrow, put it that way. But MITRE is actually working on something called VCI at the moment, and that is a vaccine credential identification. It is being backed and sponsored by Apple, Google, Microsoft, a number of universities, New York State, California State, state of Colorado. And, for these people now, the vaccine is not a temporary scenario anymore. They're already talking about every 3 months in some places in Europe now. And you've seen how places like Austria are treating the unvaccinated. This is in your life to stay. They do not intend to let up about these things. So it doesn't really matter to the regime right now that, we got a few little problems here or there. People don't like me. People are calling me up saying, let's go, Brandon, on the White House hotline. To these people, this control mechanism is here to stay. They intend to use every little facet of it.
So, Jack, to Raheem's point, I keep saying that that Omicron is nature's vaccine because we understand at least from the math and the science and the data and the evidence that it is much more, it's highly transmissible. It may be up there with measles, but it's relatively the
We're
natural
seeing
way.
the overrunning of the ERs. The ERs are being overrun by hypochondriacs because you've got people up in places like Vermont and other places where they say happy holidays and all they watch is CNN that are told essentially that they think that if you come down positive with COVID, that's the end of your life. You're done. There's no way coming back because they won't talk to any of these people about homeopathic measures. They won't talk about getting your health right. They won't talk about the Z-Pack. They won't talk about zinc and vitamin D and all those other things that you can do to fortify your own health and just make the right choices. But they've also telling them that even if you get Omicron, it doesn't matter. So they've squelched all the stories from South Africa from the people, the actual doctor who discovered Omicron, right? And came out and told us that, hey, this thing isn't that bad. But when you come out of it, Steve, the one thing where I would disagree with you is when you say it's nature's vaccine, I would say it's even better. It's the vaccine that pharma couldn't invent, right? That they couldn't come up with. Because this thing has the efficacy. This thing does give long lasting. You don't need boosters after this, they're saying. You get this thing and it's almost like, and look, I don't want anyone, Media Matters are going to hit this and say, oh, Posobiec is saying have Omicron parties and all that stuff. No, obviously. But at the same time, if you look at the history of this, and I understand the history
you already had your Omicron party out at Amfest, right? That was your Omicron party. Posobiec said, let's have a super spreader event. But we're all young and healthy.
Funny enough, I've been tracking that, and there were some people who came out with sore throats, but I'm like, look, they're going to crush us, if AmFest was some kind of event. Nothing. Not a peep. And you would know. But look, Steve, you go back, look at Philadelphia, the history of 1918, the Spanish flu, all these different things, these horrible pandemics that we've had in our past. This is actually how pandemics end, because the strains get weaker and then weaker, but still get the antibodies that can fight back. If you look historically, we've had viruses. We've had the cold and the flu for 5,000 years. The human race has been on this planet and has also been, cohabitating the earth with these viruses. This is the old enemy. This is even older than the CCP, believe it or not, right? So we know that we've had these battles back and forth, and they suck, and they're not good, and they're not fun. But this is usually how it ends. We get stronger, they get weaker. That's what you're starting to see play out here.
Raheem, we got about 60 seconds. You just mentioned that they're going to continue on. So when they confront the reality of the science that this is natural herd immunity is coming through Omicron, how's the administrative state going to handle that? How's MITRE and all the people that are making money off MITRE going to react to that?
Well, I'd say, we're now into a stage where, look, they redefined what a vaccine was, right? Like, they just changed the dictionary definition of what a vaccine was overnight, and they're going to change the definition of what immunity means soon as well. I will say this to bail Jack Posobiec out of that Media Matters headline, though. The Capitol Hill police killed more people on January the 6th than Omicron has. Stick that in your headline, Media Matters.
Whoa. And a happy St. Stephen's Day, or day after St. Stephen's Day to you. By the way, we had the Boxing Day special, our traditional Boxing Day special, hosted by Raheem Kassam, 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. tonight, right here in the War Room, a Real America's Voice, and, of course, on all our platforms. Short commercial break. We'll be back about Biden confusing 500 million tests with 500 million pills next in the War Room.
Lord, we pray this next year coming in is going to be a great year. For all of our friends here in Real America's Voice, for all that are watching, I give to you a greeting, a blessing, and we believe this will be the very best year of your life. God bless you.
On Real America's Voice, we're making real change happen.
With our grassroots approach to news and our growing family of networks, we're bringing that change to you.
all part of the Real America Voice family. You got the War Room.
And later, we hear from you, the viewer, the most important voice.
Help fight back against the mainstream media.
This is your blowtorch of free speech in America. And thanks for joining us.
All part of the Real America Voice family. You got the War Room.
1-800-637-5845 to schedule a free home consultation. Buy one, get one at 40% off with this special offer.
Weeks. You can't say how many tests people are going to be able to order at a time, or whether there will be a limit on them. You can't say when they're going to receive the tests or how quickly they will be shipped, but that all of that will happen in a matter of weeks.
Okay, so here's what people should know across the country. Right now, there are 20,000 testing sites that are available. We have quadrupled the size of our testing program in the last 4 months. That's not including the announcement yesterday. We are also working with FEMA to open up testing sites. One of the first will open up in New York City before the end of the week. So accelerated emergency contract means they're working to finalize the emergency contract. And it would be applicable to that would be all of the FDA approved testing. They would all be options for it, testing kits, right? We're not going to put the website up until we have the first batch of the 500 million, which we expect to get in January, because we don't want to create confusion for the American people out there. This is the biggest purchase that we have done to date.
Okay.
It certainly represents.
It's all confusion. It's all double talk. It's all lies. Everybody in this audience, become a force multiplier. What you need to do is to share all of this. Go to all our platforms, go to my Getter account, go to Posobiec Raheem, share all of this with your moderate or Democratic or independent friends that are not on board this movement right now. Because you're being spun, you're being lied to. All of this chaos in the airports, the ruined Christmas of 2021, and that's what it was, a ruined Christmas. And now they're tripling down on the blunt force instrument that is mass vaccinations. They're just going against the science. They're going against the data. They're going against the evidence. Inside of this, you've got a White House that promised stability, promised order from Orange Man Bad. And you're seeing not just chaos, but it's lies, misrepresentation, and total incompetence. Did they even have a war council over there? I mean, at least Trump, as hapless as Mike Pence is, and as bad as Fauci is, at least they got guys organized in a way that you had these meetings, right? To try to bring all branches of government together like a war council that met daily. I'm not so sure they even do that. That's why you see FDA says one thing, Fauci says another, Collins says another. It's all over the map. CDC says one thing, the Surgeon General runs out and says it's all the biggest health crisis we got is all false information. But in this, you see Kamala Harris, right, trying to step up now. Of course, she's saying over the weekend, the two biggest problems we got with a nation in chaos is the problem with democracy and White House. Where are the long eyes? God, where's Hillary when you need her?
Look at the massive press push. Now, this has been, I understand that people have been, on Christmas, they've been with their families, spending time unplugged from politics. But if you track this stuff, and we've been tracking it here, Kamala Harris is getting a massive press push. They're giving her another shot, and they're starting to bring her back in. What am I talking about? Look, there are two profiles 2 profiles written of her in print this weekend. The San Francisco Chronicle, that one was a little bit more like hunky-dory, kind of schmaltzy, kind of fun. And then there was the LA Times article, and that puff piece was very serious. Then you get the CBS News did a whole package on her where suddenly she's being given credit for the bipartisan infrastructure bill, which, heretofore we had no clue whatsoever that she had anything to do with, right? And the Spectator World's got a great write-up of all this, where, talking about how, suddenly they're giving her credit for these things, working behind the, working the phones behind closed doors and calling up reformers. Fortunately for her, going to go down with the ship because she wanted to be the first lady. Now she's there, so she pushed him to run despite knowing that there's obvious, and what do we have? Congressman Van Drew comes out and says that he wants Biden to take a cognitive test. Again, everyone can see what's going on. So the people closest to him clearly can see what's going on right around him. All of this means that the knives are coming out, not just for Kamala Harris before, but I told you, Kamala would be having her revenge. She's not going to throw him under the bus. She's going to let him do that. Now she's walking back into the good graces of the corporate media.
So, Raheem, the David Muir interview, the guy clearly is, he doesn't know the difference between the pills and the test. Everything he's saying about the test is just an absolute fabrication. Now that we know the reality, and Vanity Fair, the media is not on this story like they should be on the story. These guys had every opportunity and warning that this was going to happen, okay, this winter, and they actually went and tripled down the other way with the vaccines. Raheem Kassam.
Yeah, I mean, look, say I know a lot of people are frustrated with a lot of what Donald Trump is saying right now about the vaccines, but say what you want about that. The administration actually handled this, I think, will be looked back upon as nothing short of a miracle. Daily press briefings by the president himself talking about detailed numbers and statistics. And sure, well, there's some awkward moments up there at the microphone. It's Donald Trump. Of course there would be. But these guys right now, secretive, untransparent, unprepared, willing to snipe at people through background briefings and interviews, but never actually get in front of an interviewer who is even remotely hostile. Look at the way Kamala Harris lost her rag when Charlemagne the God asked her who was the real president, right? And he was getting at the fact that Joe Manchin was pulling more strings. She lost her mind at that because it was the closest thing to a hostile question. He didn't even mean it. He was being playful and accidental about it, and she still lost her mind about it. Put on some fake accent, started, jerking her head around. It was ludicrous. Jack, you missed out one thing. The Guardian piece from this weekend is a sight to behold. Kamala Harris charts her own course as vice president amidst intense scrutiny. And it talks about how she's only bad at her job because conservative media outlets willfully mispronounce her name. She's only bad at her job because she was never given a playbook of how to be the vice president. This hagiographic stuff is embarrassing. It's frankly embarrassing, even in somewhere like The Guardian. But I do also want to mention this is fun.
Raheem, I didn't realize The Guardian was actually still in print.
Yeah, right. The Joe Biden stuff is fundamentally why Republicans are still not serious. Because if this were the other way around, and it has been the other way around, there would be non-stop talk about the 25th Amendment. There would be briefing news articles into the conservative press. They would be on television talking about it the whole time. It's so feckless. It's dropping the ball at every juncture. It's, even if you don't believe it can be done, it's good politics. It makes sense to give those questions to the American people and talk about something serious like that. And nobody on the right does it. Why?
We're leaving out one massive piece of this. And Steve, we got to get this in. We talked about before. I came on here last week and people said I had the tinfoil on, my hair was on fire when I said that Kamala Harris wanted to bring Hillary Clinton in as her vice presidential pick, should she become the president. And they said, oh, that's Posobiec. He's making it up again. He's got these fake sources. He gets retweets, whatever. Then the New York Times comes out with their profile. They led this whole thing off. And what did they say? If you go about 26 paragraphs down into the New York Times profile, that in November
this would be official. That's official. Hang on. That's a 26 paragraphs down. It's officially a buried lead, right? When you're down to the 26 paragraph, you're officially a buried
lead of buried leads that Kamala Harris has been having private White House meetings with none other than Hillary Rodham Clinton, starting in November of 2021. This has been going on.
Yeah. Okay, how does the claim allow that to happen? How do you have Hillary Clinton, who's clearly trying to clean herself up and humanize herself by crying on, as Jack Posobiec or Jason Miller pointed out in the masterclass, crying on the endearing story about her mother to prep herself for 2024. How does the chief of staff of the White House allow Hillary Clinton to come in the White House and have one-on-ones with Kamala Harris, knowing that will be leaked one day?
Look, Ron Klain's in chaos mode right now. He's in panic mode worse than the granola eaters up in Vermont that are clogging the ERs. Ron Klain is clogging his Twitter feed with MSNBC retweets and likes and talk. He's on the phone doing these round robins with Rachel Maddow and Joy Reid and Brian Stetler. Right? This guy, he literally has his hair on fire, trying to tell everyone the sky is not falling. Everything's great. They just posted a tweet I watched on the Joe Biden Twitter account that said, well, shopping was up, sales were up 8.5% this year. What a great year it's been. Yeah, but also inflation was up 7%. So we can do the math. That means it's only up 1.5%. That is a terrible year on year, going from the pandemic. We're supposed to be in recovery now. 1.5%. That is not exactly something. The gas prices and all of it.
Yeah, retail numbers are collapsing. Raheem, I just got to go back, though, is that you said about leaking on each other, all that. At least Trump had an organized thing. And yes, there was lots of disagreements in there, particularly Fauci, right, with what President Trump wanted to do. But it doesn't even seem like they're meeting. My point is, this is real chaos. This is chaos of disorganization and everybody running, going their own way. It's real chaos. And they sold the American people on they were stability. Raheem Kassam.
Well, take anywhere in the world right now. Take Taiwan, take Ukraine, take Latin America, take the shipping worldwide, take America's role in the world, in foreign policy, in Europe, take what's happening in local communities, take inflation, take the border, take institutionally in places like Washington, D.C. And you have been delivered, America, precisely what they warned you Donald Trump would do. But you have been delivered.
Now for a big stimulus package because the economy's collapsing. You tell this about Christmas. It's going to collapse. You see this by the chaos in your airports, the lockdowns, the mandates, all of it. They're going to come back to the American people. And what in a moment, Kassam and Posobiec next.
Lord, we pray this next year coming in is going to be a great year. For all of our friends here in Real America's Voice, for all that are watching, Mercedes and I give to you a greeting, a blessing, and we believe this will be the very best year of your life. God bless you.
On Real America's Voice, we're making real change happen.
With our grassroots approach to news and our growing family of networks, we're bringing that change to you.
All part of the Real America Voice family. You got the War Room.
And later, we hear from you, the viewer, the most important voice.
help fight back against the mainstream media.
This is your blowtorch of free speech in America. And thanks for joining us.
All part of the Real America Voice family. You got the War Room.
Access for charge. Get Cup Call for just $19.99. But wait, call right now and you can double the offer. Plus, you can get a 10-pack of just pay separate fee, and we'll even ship it to you free. This is a TV-only offer that is not available on Amazon. So call or click now.
Call 1-800-373-4841. That's 1-800-373-4841. Or visit getcupcall.com. So call 1-800-373-4841 now.
Big tech monitors us, censors us, deplatforms us. Conservatives have been helpless to do anything about it until now. Social media.
And then got a booster just a few days ago.